Da-da-do. All right, we sound good. So this one goes, the homeless crisis. Middle class Americans on the brink of homelessness. Oh, I gotta say, this is one of my worst fears, isn't it, Nolly? Yeah, I'm not gonna let you go homeless. Okay, she's biting me. All right, you're done. You're out of here. All right, we're gonna go full screen for this one. Let's get this cooking. But this is probably one of my biggest fears, honestly. I've lived in a car before, and it's not cool.
Class has long been viewed as the backbone of the nation, a symbol of stability, opportunity, and the American dream. Yet, in recent years, that foundation has shown troubling cracks. A growing number of middle-class Americans, once secure in their homes and livelihoods, are teetering on the edge.
All right, real quick, just off rip. Let's be realistic. Most people who are trying, who don't have a substance abuse or a severe alcohol problem, even severe alcoholics, yeah, you're not. This is next level stuff. Let's just be 101%, 100 with each other here, okay? Just throwing that out there because this is extreme.
Edge of homelessness, rising costs of living, stagnating wages, and unexpected crises, like medical emergencies or job losses, are creating a perfect storm. For many, one missed paycheck or an unexpected bill could spell disaster. Families once considered financially stable now find themselves grappling with the unthinkable, choosing between rent and groceries, or between paying for medicine and utilities. For decades, middle-class workers in America have faced a grim economic reality. Wages have stagnated while the cost of living continues to soar. Despite working full-time jobs, many Americans find themselves in a precarious financial situation, with their purchasing power steadily eroding. The relentless rise in inflation and the mounting cost of essentials have pushed countless middle-class families to the brink of homelessness, a situation exacerbated by the significant decline in the dollar's value. Since the
Okay, I will say it is getting a bit much, but let me real quick. I'm just saying if we really look at. Oh, that's not really showing it too well, but if we really look at this right, the tents here, okay? I honestly don't think most people who are trying are going to end up in a tent. But I will say this. Let me look something up real quick. How many people, because for instance, I've lived in a car, right? Obviously, I bounced back, okay? But people who are trying actually, like, they're not just going to end up in tents. But I am curious. How many people live in their cars or RVs, whatever? I can't spell. Okay. Holy shit. In 2022, there were estimated 3.1 million people living in vans, RVs, or other motorized vehicles in the United States. This is a 63% increase from 2020. Wow. Okay, that's crazy. But that makes sense. That makes more sense because I'm like, normal people aren't just going to end up in a tent. I mean, maybe they will, but they'll bounce back. How many homeless people are there? Okay, so there were 771,000 homeless people. Wow, dude. That's crazy. But that's just to kind of paint you guys a picture here. All right, where is this video at? Because no offense, I don't mean to say anything. I'm just saying, like, you think middle class Americans or somebody with a okay job, even, you're not just going to set up shop next to these people. Like, they're just not out there in the morning and like, oh yeah, I live 3 tents down. I'm the blue one on the right. He goes, no way. No shit. You want a carpool tomorrow? That's just not how it works. Anyways, let's hear him out. I do. That is alarming, though, the amount of people living in cars. That goes to say something. Actually, before we get back into this, now I'm curious. They probably don't even have information on this one. How many people lived in cars, RVs, vans in, let's just say, 1990? They probably don't even have any information on that. I mean, who's even typing this in? There isn't much information on how many people lived in their cars in 1990. Yeah, probably because it wasn't really a thing. All right, let's check out how many homeless people there were. How many Homeless people were there in 1990. How about that? I'm terrible at smelling. I'm just like an autopilot. Okay. Around 250,000 people, 228,000 people were homeless. So it's basically tripled since 1990. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and blame that on substance abuse and alcoholism with the cost of living. Because obviously, I feel as if, before we get back on this video, which we're going to, it's going to happen. But I truly do feel like alcoholism, drugs, the party, that's really escalated. I do believe it since then. So along with the cost of living, think about that for a second. There was a point where you could be a total drug addict, and still have a place to live, still afford it. Something to think about. Anyways, back to this guy. I'm taking too long here.
The 1990s, the dollar has lost 82% of its purchasing power. This decline means that the money earned by middle-class workers today buys significantly less than it did several decades ago. While the prices of housing, healthcare, education, and everyday necessities have increased dramatically, wages have remained relatively flat. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, real median household income has seen minimal growth over the past 20 years, failing to keep pace with inflation. This stagnation has left many families struggling to make ends meet. For many middle-class families, financial disaster is closer than they think. Despite working full-time jobs and maintaining what appears to be a stable lifestyle, the economic fragility of the middle class is more pronounced than ever, with nearly 60% of middle-class Americans having less than $1,000 in savings. The risk of falling into a homeless crisis due to an unexpected expense is alarmingly high.
Okay, dude, there's no possible way they're just going to let a kid out there, dude. No way. They wouldn't even let a dog out there. No, I'm not buying that. I'm not saying things aren't bad or tough. I'm just saying some of this B-roll's a little much. And I do believe that, if anything, more and more people are just going to be living together. Or there's going to be that car number of people living in their cars. That's just going to go way up. Or RVs, van life, etc. I'm just saying this B-roll is a little intense. That's all I'm trying to say.
Like a medical bill or a car repair, can quickly spiral into a homeless crisis. How the middle class is slipping toward homelessness. Today, nearly 43 million families rent their homes, a record high number in American history. What's even more startling is the surge in middle-class renters. Households earning between $56,000 and $100,000 annually that have shifted from homeownership to renting. Over the past 5 years alone, the number of such renters has increased by a staggering 86%, according to a report from Harvard University's Joint Center for Housing Studies. This shift comes at a time when rental vacancy rates are at their lowest since 1985, leaving renters scrambling for limited options and paying a premium for what they find. Housing prices have skyrocketed, with the typical home now costing $84,000 more than it did just 2 years ago. Meanwhile, average rents have risen by more than $1,150 annually compared to 2022, climbing at an annual rate of 4.5%. For middle-class renters whose incomes have declined by 9% over the past decade, these rising costs are unsustainable. The impact of this crisis can be seen in the personal stories of people like Robert Gary.
Robert Gary. You know, that is something to think about, though. Like, everyone's forced to rent. So now you have high income earners competing with, somebody making 40 grand a year, competing with the same guy making 100 grand a year, because the 100 grand a year guy can't buy a house. That's the classic. And I'm involved with this with you guys too. I'm not rich. I'm not loaded. I do good. I do well, but this was one of my biggest fears, was going homeless. When I lived in my car, that was like the biggest wake-up call. And here's something else to think about. A lot of people would rather live in an RV or a van than pay these rent prices. Like most of these, I'm not sorry. Most people who are like, if I wanted to, I'm not just gonna go pack up and live in a tent, right? Like if you still have your job and all that, like you're gonna bail on your house, you're gonna go live in the car, you're gonna live in a van, or you're gonna live with somebody, gonna rent a room. Maybe a lot more people are gonna be living together. That's for sure. I wonder where they're going with this, but let me see this real quick. This dude goes, I've traveled through Europe and China, but when I traveled through the US, I was shaking my head in disbelief. The richest country in the world, having 5% of their population owning 90% of the taxpayers' wealth, is disgraceful. Outside of the cities were more millionaires and billionaires. Uh, uh, Hold on. Where's this guy going? Okay, yeah, so the rich own everything. Governments need to be held accountable for crimes against humanity. The homeless problem is one of the reasons why me and my wife bailed from the U.S. Is one of the things that made it clear that the government has no interest in taking care of its own, especially the middle class. A lot of people are doing that too. They're just bailing on, they're just leaving. But like I said before, dude, I hate to keep bringing this up. They're going to talk about two people who are struggling here. We're going to have to fast forward. Why is rent crushing the middle class? But let's be honest, dude. I'm going to have to let you guys can go check out this video, but let me just fast forward here for a second. Oh, piece of shit. But let's be realistic, right? Most people living in these tents, when you see these gnarly tent neighborhoods, like, yeah, I'm not happy with the cost of everything. I'm not. How much further can it go before more people are like, stuff it, I'll live in a car or a van, or like move off the grid? I agree with that. That's insane. Something I think about. I think about leaving the United States, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how. It's like you're scared. It's a scary thing to do. Um, but these people in these tent cities, right? Housing is a human right. But these people in these tent cities, dude, no. I'm sorry. That's bigger than that's a whole nother level. That's drugs. That's alcohol. Mostly drugs. That's hardcore shit. Let's not bullshit each other here. Let me go through some more comments here. But it is alarming, man. And a lot of states don't let that shit fly. They just ship them somewhere else. Like, it's real bad in Cali. It's real bad in New York. Texas has got some bad shit. Miami, I mean, Florida's got it a little bit. Miami's got it. I don't want to say it doesn't. This dude goes, 20, 30, $40 an hour just doesn't cut it today unless you have a home owned outright. Oh, yeah, or if you live with people, you're splitting the bills. 40 an hour, you could still make that work, but you're still not going to probably be able to buy a home unless you're doing overtime. All right, then you got to keep up with that. That's fun. I'm convinced the U.S. is following in the same trajectory as the U.K. a century ago. I don't know if U.K.'s got this bad of a homeless problem too, but American people in such poor state with billions of dollars sent to Ukraine and Israel. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This video is by our 50 states. I'll leave the link down below, but it is kind of crazy to think. But you know, you hear this all the time, like the brink of homelessness, and I'm like, yeah, but people aren't just gonna be living in tents. Like, no way, dude. Like, tell me if I'm I have more faith in people. Like, no way, dude. But if prices keep going up and up, I mean, how much further can they go? Push it to the limit. That's something to think about, man. Like, I'm constantly, every month, I'm like, I gotta put enough away here. I gotta make sure I make enough. I gotta do this. Just like you do, right? Or most people do. Just work 7 days a week. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much further it can go. Then if prices keep going up, and up, and they don't stop, then yeah, we're probably going to have a shit ton of people living in cars, and the 10 cities are going to get worse. I don't know, man. You guys leave your thoughts. I'll leave the link to this down below, but it's just something that popped in my feed, and I've been getting a lot of these homeless style videos. Like over here, it's like, New York is making homelessness on purpose, right? Homelessness crisis, alarming number of Americans. I've been getting a lot of these homeless videos. You click on one, you get 100 of them. But yeah, the tent shit, no way, dude. That's. We saw the numbers. We're gonna end on this note. In 1990, there was no information for people living in cars. Today, there's 3 million. I don't know how they're getting these numbers. They're going out counting them, but let's just say they're real. There's 3 million people living cars, RVs, vans. Okay. In 1990, there's 250,000 homeless people. Today, there's 775,000. Not even a million homeless people. But there's 3 million people living in cars, vans, RVs. So yeah, maybe we are on the brink of something. But the tent stuff, that's next level. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, solid talk. Jesus. I'll see you tomorrow. Unreal.